This smartphone is still the king of smartphone audio. The company that made it closed its mobile division years ago, and they no longer manufacture them. But before disappearing, it left us this gem that went down in history as the king of smartphone audio. And the exclusive quad DAC implemented in this LG V60 is still legendary. And the good news is that it can still be bought at an extremely affordable price. I'll talk about that later. But how does the LG V60 ThinQ perform today? Is it still usable? All I can say is that after using it for a few weeks, I can't believe this LG V60 came out so many years ago. When you see it record in 8K, you'll understand what I mean. And you'll also see that LG was the first to invent a feature that Apple has just made popular in its new iPhones. But let's get started with the design of this treasure, now extinct, which still has the best audio in the world on a mobile phone even after all these years. 8.9 millimeters thick and 214 grams in weight in a body made of glass and aluminum. At the bottom, microphone, one of the speakers, USB Type-C, and the crown jewel, the 3.5 millimeter audio jack on the side, the power button with a rather short travel. At the top, a second microphone, and here is the card slot. You can insert 2 SIM cards and a micro SD card of up to 2 terabytes. Also, that black ring indicates that it has IP68 water and dust protection. And on the other side, there's the third microphone, the volume button, and a button for the Google Assistant. Honestly, it feels great in the hand. I like that the edges are rounded. And ultimately, I prefer the rounded edges of older phones over the flat sides we get now. You already know that on this channel I tried the LG V50 quite a while ago, but this one is a step above in every. But I think where this LG V60 improves the most is in the battery department. Although the cameras have also made a really significant leap, you'll see that later. First, let's discuss the screen, where you'll also notice extra brightness. Its screen is 6.8 inches POLED, full HD plus resolution, with a refresh rate of 60 Hz. Without a doubt, it's a really good screen. LG knows how to make very good screens. In fact, it's one of the manufacturers that makes the screens for iPhones. I also like LG's interface, which I'll discuss more later since it's highly customizable. You can set up the screen however you want, and when it comes to watching content, for example on YouTube, it lets you watch perfectly in 4K at 60 frames per second in HDR. And while it's true that the reflections are a bit strong, it's surprising how well this phone has aged in terms of multimedia capability. Check out that teardrop-shaped notch, which honestly is pretty subtle, but when it comes to colors, brightness, sharpness, in short, consuming all kinds of multimedia on this screen is still a pleasure. Also, if we pair it with the audio it can produce, the result is simply great. This LG V60 was announced in February 2020. It's been quite a few years now, and it's stuck on Android 12. Also, not long ago I received a new update with security patches, and that's something I like. It includes an optical fingerprint sensor, and it's not the fastest I've tried. Still, when you're navigating through the interface, it doesn't feel too laggy. Even so, you should keep in mind that without a doubt, it's not the fastest smartphone in the world. What I do like is the amount of customization this interface has. In some ways, it reminds me of Samsung. In fact, both brands are Korean. When it comes to running apps like Instagram, for example, it still does it perfectly, even though it's stuck on Android 12. The truth is, you won't have problems with everyday apps. This LG V60 comes with 128 GB of internal storage, 8 GB of RAM, and the Snapdragon 865. Although it's been around for some time, it was very powerful in its day. The vibration motor still works well, is precise, and is well aligned with the interface. And when it comes to running more demanding apps, for example, it does it without any problem. However, keep in mind that it's a processor that runs a bit hot. By the way, both the 5G and GPS, as well as Bluetooth data and so on, everything has worked very well for me. And for gaming, even though it gets a bit warm, like I mentioned, it still performs like a champ. And that's also thanks to the speakers it has. The truth is, it offers a very satisfying gaming experience. Now let's focus on what's really important, the audio. You already know that on this channel I did one of the first reviews of the Vivo XX200 Ultra. Here I'm going to compare it in terms of sound. By the way, those patches you see are to keep dust out. It's simply a metal grill that doesn't interfere at all with either the sound output or the reception through the microphones. And here you're going to hear a test between a smartphone that just came out and has top-notch sound, which is the XX200 Ultra, and this LG that was released in 2020. Who do you think will sound better? Let me know in the comments. Goodbye.
What is it that DJs actually do? What is it that DJs really do? Let's see. What is it that DJs actually do?
I assure you that the Vivo X200 Ultra sounds incredibly good, but what LG does with its audio leaves you speechless. By the way, these are the most expensive headphones I've tried on this channel. They're the Maisie Poet, and knowing that they're very demanding headphones, I'm going to use them with this LG V60. Once I connect them, check out what pops up. These two options, the LG 3D sound engine and the Hi-Fi Quad DAC. I especially recommend turning on the DAC because while your smartphone may get a bit warm and use more battery, the sound is much richer. Unlike current smartphones, except for Moondrops, which I'll discuss later. But as you can see, for example, the equalizer and all the software features it includes just for audio, I think at this point LG was doing things really well. And also, both the equalizer and the rest of the options are extremely customizable. And the interface in that phosphorescent green, which by the way also lets you change the color, is quite intuitive. One thing that surprised me is it lets you choose digital sound filters. We've seen this on this channel in dedicated audio devices, that is, professional audio players, which costs 6 or 7 times more than this LG V60. All right, let's focus on the key question. How does this phone sound? Well, considering how thin it is, that after all it's still a smartphone, and that it has a really low price, the sound that comes out of this device is very good. Not just in terms of quantity, meaning power, but also in terms of quality. There's a bit more space, a bit more clarity, voices sound more present, and the bass goes a little deeper. Those who made it this far might wonder, is it better than the Moondrop? Well, it's likely that the Moondrop Myad 01, which I also reviewed on this channel, with quite a bit of success, it seems you all really liked it, might actually sound better than this LG V60, especially through its 4.4 jack with balanced output. But the LG V60 is still a much more well-rounded product overall, with better speakers, better battery, more polished software, better microphones, and above all, better cameras. And speaking of the cameras, let's get to this point because I expected the audio to surprise me. And without a doubt, it did. But what I didn't expect was to be so surprised by its camera performance. The camera module, which I like, barely protrudes from the back of this smartphone. It has a triple camera setup, 64 megapixels for the main one, 13 megapixels for the ultra-wide angle, and a TOF 3.0 sensor. It has optical image stabilization, and its selfie camera is 10 megapixels. By the way, digital zoom reaches up to 10x. But beyond the technical specs, you'll see how well this smartphone is aging in this regard. Once again, I appreciate LG's interface, which explains all the modes perfectly, with plenty of visual demonstrations. Check out all the video modes it has, something I like and that is also implemented by the Vivo X200 Ultra, which is the smartphone with the best camera in the world when it comes to tracking subjects. This LG also includes it. Also, look at this, how interesting. You can choose for the 3 microphones to have a basic effect, an ASMR effect, or a voice bokeh effect. But what caught my attention the most when I was recording this video was that Apple introduced the new software for their iPhones, and check out these 3D photos. Well, this LG, which came out quite a few years ago, has this same effect called exactly the same 3D effect. And it works exactly the same as what Apple just released, at least as of today when I'm recording this video. Therefore, it's another point that makes me think that LG was doing things very well and in fact was ahead of its time. Even so, the mode I like the most on this LG, without a doubt, is the manual mode, the Pro mode, with up to 20 seconds of exposure time. I think it's a pretty complete tool, but something that also surprised me is that considering this LG doesn't have the kind of artificial intelligence that's so trendy nowadays, notice how this magic eraser, which is so heavily advertised by other current smartphones that cost 8 times more to erase things with so-called artificial intelligence, look at how fast, effective, and well this LG V60 erases without any artificial intelligence at all. And honestly, this could lead to a pretty deep reflection about that AI and the way it's being sold to us. But anyway, let's move on to the photos from this LG V60. And as you can see, they are simply wonderful. Considering the age of this smartphone, the fact that it doesn't use any artificial intelligence to take photos, and that it costs, for example, about 6 or 7 times less than the latest Samsung Galaxy Ultra. Both the colors, the sharpness, the dynamic range, and the details are truly spectacular. And anyone you show these photos to would tell you that, without a doubt, this is a current smartphone. It's true that where it struggles the most, obviously, is with the zoom, especially with the digital zoom. But the ultra-wide angle, and especially its main 64 megapixel sensor, really feels like a sensor with the quality you find in smartphones. But as I always say in my videos, and few reviewers do this, I don't ask you to believe me, I ask you to check it for yourselves. I'm going to leave the uncompressed photos from this LG V60 on my Telegram channel. You can download them to your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, and zoom in to see them at the highest quality. I'll leave the direct link to my Telegram channel below in the video description. You'll notice that its camera setup is still top-notch. But it's not just that it takes good photos, its videos are still better than those of smartphones that are coming out right now. Above all, I was blown away by its 8K resolution.
And this is how the LG V60 would record video nowadays. This would be full HD resolution at 60 frames per second. This is how its stabilization would look and how its microphones would sound. This is how it would record in 4K at 60 frames per second. And this is really a great feature, look, because this is its maximum resolution.
And it can even record
up to 8K. Also the stabilization that
it has
while
I'm walking right now.
It's really good. In fact, there are smartphones that cost 5 or 6 times more and don't stabilize.
As well as this one.
Considering how old it is and how much it costs, it's really surprising.
Honestly, I bought it for its audio. But what I really didn't expect was that it would have this camera setup that feels really fresh. And something else that's also surprising is its 5000 mAh battery. Remember, for example, that the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra has a battery with the same mAh, 5000. However, it lacks wireless charging and fast charging, at least not at the fast standards we're used to nowadays. On the other hand, I've also noticed that when it's charging, it gets a bit warmer than it should. Its battery can last 2 or 3 days without any problem. And now, let's get to the most important point, because you'll probably like this even more than its audio or its camera features, and that's its price. How much does the LG V60 cost today? Well, as you can see, I bought it for 175.39 euros, which isn't bad at all. It comes from China. I didn't have to pay any customs fees. That is, shipping is free. It's available in white and blue. I'll leave the links below in the video description. But if you want to buy directly from the official LG store, I'll also leave the Amazon link below in the video description. It's about 100 euros more expensive, but in exchange, you get the warranty that Amazon provides. In fact, I don't know when you'll be watching this video, but it's likely that today it's even cheaper. And that's really great news considering it's a smartphone that has aged extraordinarily well. Even better than the LG V50. It still has superb sound. And if you're going to buy this smartphone to have your own high-res audio player with Android, I guarantee you're going to fall in love with the sound. Not just through headphones, but also through its speakers. But what will definitely surprise you is its camera setup, just like it did for me. It's true that it has its downsides. It won't be getting any more updates. I wish LG would give us at least one more security patch, and sometimes it overheats too much. But for that price nowadays, you won't be able to find anything better when it comes to audio, photography, or an affordable smartphone in general. And with that said, I hope you like this phone. This LG V60, I admit I had a great time while testing it. And honestly, it's a shame that LG has left the smartphone market. I'll leave the best photos on my Telegram. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a like so I can keep bringing these treasures that almost no one remembers anymore. And now see you in the next video. Take care and see you soon.